Are you considering traveling right now? There's a lot going on in the world, and we've heard from a lot of people. They're changing plans, they're questioning what to do. So we kind of want to just discuss that today, of everything, not getting into any politics or anything like that, but what our choice is going forward here with everything going on in the world.
Yeah, we're heading to Europe here in the fall, and is that the best idea? And what precautions do we need to take? So you will want to do a little research before you leave. The best place to start is with your U.S. State Department or whatever's equivalent from whatever country you're from, and check those travel advisories.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really key place to start, but we also want to guide you to not get scared sometimes by these advisories that you're going to see. Every place that we have traveled to has been some level of advisory. It's really kind of comical because when we've gone to places and maybe a family member will say, hey, that's a level 2. And like, yeah, so was Spain, but you didn't think about it when we went to Spain.
I think Italy was a level 2 thing when we were there as well. So, so just don't get too caught up in that level.
Those levels also, one thing that you want to be aware of is they are specific for regions of the country you're going to. So don't necessarily just look at the level and then go, okay, we cannot travel there. Look also at where that is affecting, because when we were in Mexico, there were absolutely areas that you were really being told don't travel to, and some of those were the areas we were in if we wouldn't have dug deeper, but they were specific areas of that city or town or region. So yeah, just just dig a little deeper, do that research.
Now, if you're at all in question, look for those countries with a politically stable government. That sounds obvious, but there are travelers that go all over the world and they do all kinds of crazy things. And sometimes even we don't think that's a good idea.
No, we're actually kind of surprised sometimes when we see that. And now the other thing that you can do, and this to me can really set your mind at ease, is join one of the Facebook groups, maybe an expat community or other community for the area that you're planning to travel prior to going. And this gives you that opportunity to talk to people who are currently on the ground there. They are going to set your mind at ease or tell you some things you might want to be aware of. I know when we were, as an example, we were in Turkey, and this is when conflict had just started, and we were looking at going to another area because we weren't feeling totally comfortable where we were. We contacted the Airbnb host and they said, no, everything is as normal here. Please come. You're not going to have any issues whatsoever. And we're so glad that we listened to their advice, because as soon as we got there, there was no reason that we needed to be concerned.
Yeah, it was business as usual, and some of the nicest people we've ever encountered were in Cappadocia.
Yeah.
So we had a great time, and we almost didn't take advantage of that opportunity. Now, when we travel, we always have some sort of a backup plan. We like to pivot. We've mentioned that many times. In this case, we definitely have a plan B that hopefully we don't have to activate.
Yeah,
but make sure you have an alternative plan to whatever you think you might be doing.
And the other thing that you want to make sure you're doing is register with the STEP program. I'm going to look and tell you what it actually is. It's Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. So that is for the United States. So see if your country has something that is similar to that. But the beauty of that is when you're registered, you're going to tell them when you're arriving, when you're leaving. They're going to know you're in country during that time. You're going to receive notifications of everything that's going on. A lot of them aren't even going to matter to you. They might be protests that are some other area of the country you're not even near. But you're going to feel informed. And I think that's really probably a key step with this.
Well, and that's what happened to us while we were in Turkey when the war broke out almost 3 years ago now. We were getting those updates via email, and it was reassuring. This one we don't need to worry about. This one maybe we do. And so it was something that it set us at ease just to know that we were informed about what's going on. Because when you're in some of these other countries, you can't just turn on the news and watch the live updates to see what's going on.
Now, one of the other things you want to do along with that is you need to find out where the nearest consulate is for your country, in that country you're going to be visiting, because that is going to be where you're going to contact, and it's going to be where you're going to go if there is any conflict or problem that you need to get help with.
We'd also advise you to carry a copy of your passport and your medical card. Very important. You don't necessarily have to take your passport itself with you, but make sure you have a copy of it.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that you want to make sure that you have, and this is a big one, is you need a VPN. In a lot of these countries, if you do not have a VPN on your phone, you are not going to be able to access any of the information you may need. Maybe it is those just even websites that are outside of that country. With that VPN, you get to set your location to say your home country. Now you can open all of those websites. I think it would be a very isolated feeling. We've been in positions where we haven't been able to access certain things because we haven't had our VPN on. So I really encourage you, it's such an incredibly inexpensive thing to do that it's really silly not to have it.
And with that feeling of isolation, what if you run out of power? Make sure you have power banks. We have two that we have charged most all the time. So just in case, if you're at an airport, those charging stations, there's been a report out recently that identity theft is becoming a common thing through those power ports at the airport. Make sure you have your own. Charge those battery banks.
Yeah, that's a scary idea, thinking that you're plugging in. We've definitely done
Use them
that.
all the time.
Yeah, they say the way to combat that is use the actual plug-in instead, not a USB connection.
Right.
So I guess there's a way around it. But I think safety, just have a power bank and plug it into your own safe space so that you know nothing's being taken.
So you got your VPN, you got your power banks. Make sure you stay connected. Get that eSIM for your data, so you do not run out of data. We have a great. Right now, we finally figured it out. We think we got what you need. We'll leave the link below for what eSIM we use, but I'll tell you what, it's worked flawlessly for us. Without it, sometimes we're stuck at the airport trying to figure it out. We haven't had a problem with this at all, so stay connected.
Yeah, and one of the things we use is the global plan, which has worked so great because a lot of time you're hopping from location to location as far as even just your layover flight, and they won't have connection there in the airport. So with that global plan, we're connected as soon as we land. So yeah, check that out. The other thing that you want to do is make sure that you are letting family and friends know your whereabouts. You know, give them your itinerary, where you're going to be stopping, your flight, where you plan on staying. You know, if something happens in another country and people have no clue where to even start looking because they don't know where you are. So that's just where, just kind of a smart thing
It's
to
just
do.
a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
My dad and your mom ask where we're going to be, what dates we're going to be there. And that's not for necessarily for our safety, but it's just because they're curious. But it is a good idea.
Now, with that said, sometimes you may find that service isn't working for whatever reason. We really haven't experienced that much. But make sure that you download the map for your area. You can do that on Google Maps, and you can also download the language for your Translate app. Those are things that you're really going to need in the situation you can't communicate or find where you need to go. So just have those downloaded.
And we've also done a few videos about accommodations, where to get your accommodations, what platform to go through. That's all great and good and fine. Make sure you're staying in the right part of town.
Yeah, and I think sometimes leaning towards, instead of maybe those short-term rentals in somebody's place, getting that apart hotel or getting a hotel, you may spend a little bit more money, but you have that front desk staff that you kind of feel at ease because you know somebody's there all the time. I know for me personally, if I was for sure traveling solo, but even as a couple, we find some level of just, okay, knowing there's somebody at that front door when people are walking in and out.
Right. And make sure you text yourself the address of wherever you're staying, just to make sure when you get in a cab or an Uber, if there's any kind of confusion at all, you can just show that driver what your address is.
And if you do choose to stay in one of those locations that is more of a short-term booking, make sure maybe that you're not on the ground floor. You kind of open yourself up a little. We've definitely been in these situations, but in those situations, you kind of feel like you're accessible to the outside a little bit easier, where when we're up a few levels, I don't know, there's a level of safety that comes with that.
Especially if there's like a tsunami or something.
Yeah, in that case, you definitely want to be up higher.
We did have this
funny.
conversation in our place in Punta Cana. Do we want to be on the ground floor? Do we want to be upstairs? I wanted to be on the ground floor with the ease of getting out to the pool and the ocean. Carrie wanted to be upstairs. I won this time.
He did.
And it was great. So there are certain situations where you may be okay, but in some situations, move upstairs.
Now, you also want to make sure that you're managing your money wisely. And what we mean by this is make sure that you're carrying with you a couple ATM cards and a couple credit cards. And there's reason behind that. You could have one that goes out while you're traveling, as far as like there was fraud. This happened to me on our last out and about. It actually happened twice. And you can have an ATM card, which Brian had happen, where the machine ate it. So, you know, if you're just starting your travels and not heading to, say, your home base pretty soon, that would be pretty isolating.
Yeah, I think that ATM that ate my card was more user error than the ATM itself. But I did lose my card. Unfortunately, I was able to get back the next day, but if I hadn't been able to get that back, I did have a backup. So make sure you have a backup ATM and a backup credit card that you can go to. Don't keep them in the same place.
Yeah,
keep them separated.
Make sure they're not together, because if they do, if your bag gets stolen, then you're just out of luck completely. The other thing is make sure that when you are carrying cash and you go to pay for something, you're not pulling out. You may, you know, if you're one of those people like, hey, look how much cash I have.
Look how rich I am.
Yeah, here's not the time and the place for that. You don't need people to see how much cash you're carrying or see how many credit cards you have in your bag. Make sure that you just are pulling out what you need.
Make sure the ATM you're using is attached to a bank. Just the security level that you get if that machine does eat your...
Jeez, oh shit.
And make sure the ATM you're using is attached to a bank. That's when I got my card was eaten. It was at a grocery store ATM machine. Fortunately, I was able to contact the bank. They were able to come over and get it the next day. So I survived it, but we were in Couture, Montenegro, small little community town. So if we were in a big city, it might have been more complicated. Make sure they're attached to a bank.
Yeah. Now, also, you want to protect your stuff while you're out and about, you know, and even when you're traveling through the airport. So make sure that you carry a bag with you that has pockets that are somewhat hidden. You know, we carry a backpack. For instance, if you're carrying a backpack, make sure that if it's on your back, you're not putting your passport and any key information or key things like your credit cards and stuff in a back pocket where somebody can just unzip it. You know, make sure it's one of those that has, mine has a zipper pocket that's up against my back so nobody could really access
I've been putting my snacks up there because they're easy to access for me. I've started moving my snacks down into my bag because I don't want anybody to steal my snacks while I'm on the plane.
And they're less accessible.
And they're less accessible, yeah. So you know, some of this might seem like common sense, things you'd probably do anyway, but in the times we're in right now, you've really got to take precautions. So some of this might be repetitive, but you know what? If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times.
Now, the other thing that you can also carry that we both carry and have carried since we started traveling pretty much is the crossbody bags. Those are wonderful. A lot of them have the protection in there so that, I can't remember what it's called, it's R something, so that they cannot scan your credit cards from a distance or when they're passing by you. They have that protection. But what is nice about them is that first off, your stuff is right here. So you feel like you have control over it. But once again, it has that usually inside pocket, you know, that you can put your really important and cash and everything inside that.
When you are using a taxi or an Uber, make sure you're verifying that. Many of these Ubers now, you can scan a code so they know who you are, you know who they are, and it's all on the up and up.
Yeah, and that was a nice feature. I think we experienced that in Buenos Aires. They would give you a code, and then they'd show up and they would ask you for that code. And if you didn't have that code, then you weren't getting in their car either. So I think you know, it's protecting both sides. One of the other features that Uber has, which we've had happen a few times, is it's tracks your ride, and so it knows if you've gone off track, and it also knows if it's taking longer than it should have. So there has been a time where one of our drivers had taken, say, a roundabout different way because of traffic, and Uber right away messaged us and just texts and says, is everything okay? We see you're going off track. I mean, it's a computer generated thing texting you, but if there was a problem, I think that's a nice security feature.
I thought it was a real human.
I doubt it.
No?
I don't think people are actually sitting there watching. There's Carrie and Brian.
Okay, now there are times where I'm overly social. There are times where Carrie is more of an introvert. With that being said, be cautious who you're speaking with, who you're talking to. Again, with everything going on in the world right now, you just never know. There have been times where I feel like maybe I'm getting scammed and I kind of shut the conversation down. That's okay, because 9 times out of 10, those people approached you you didn't approach them. So don't be afraid to walk away. Don't be afraid to say no, thank you, not interested, and leave the conversation, especially what we're going through now.
Yeah, and I think that's the first point totally, is that you are not the one that approached them asking for something. If you did, then that's fine. But if they're walking up to you like, hey, where are you from? Oh, that's great. Oh, what do you do?
Oh, we have a discount just today. Just because you're from Germany.
Yeah. And then any of the stuff, don't give out information of where you are from, or not where you're from, but where you're staying, how long you're going to be there. That's just a lot of, we consider personal information that nobody really needs to know how long we're going to be in a location or what location we're actually staying in unless they're driving us there. I think that just puts you at risk. Now, like we said, with everything going on, you do have to be aware. You do have to think things through a little bit differently. But all with that said, we're still traveling. We still plan to go to Europe. I think you can do all of these things in a very safe, smart way. You really just have to trust your gut.
Yeah, as far as trusting your gut goes, if you're in a crowded train station or an airport or any of those big tourist locations, maybe think twice. Maybe think about what you're going to go see and where you're going to go on that particular day. Stay informed, stay on top of any situation that you might be in.
Now, if you plan on traveling and you're going to continue to stay on the road, we'd love to hear about it. Leave that in the comments of where you're planning to go. Not all the details, but let us know where you're traveling, because we do like to hear what people are. A lot of people are maybe backing off right now. So.
Yeah, we have heard of some of our friends have backed off right now. We've tried to encourage them not to, but they're backing off. Are you? If so, why?
It's just into everybody's comfort level. All right, well, we hope that this was just informational for you and maybe start some conversation, and we will catch you next time. Cheers.